Business News live from Islamabad. I'm Jawad Tehami and these are the headlines. Pakistan says it will continue to extend political, diplomatic and moral support to Kashmiris until the realization of their right to self-determination. Visiting the line of control along with foreign media representatives, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said the people of Indian-occupied Kashmir have rejected New Delhi's illegal actions of 5th of August. In Afghanistan, at least 29 people have been killed during an ISIS attack on a prison in the eastern city of Jalalabad. A spokesperson for the provincial governor says more than 50 others were injured, while over 300 prisoners are still at large after the attack. Last night, some 30 ISIS fighters attacked the prison, leading to a mass jailbreak. The global number of COVID-19 cases has crossed 18 million, with the death tally reaching nearly 690,000. Brazil has reported 541 deaths and nearly 26,000 infections in the last 24 hours, increasing the tally to over 2.7 million. In Pakistan, 8 more people have died, while 330 have tested positive for the virus overnight. The country's death toll has reached 5,984, with over 280,000 confirmed cases. Those are the headlines and detailed stories right after a short break. Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. In Pakistan, the Islamabad High Court has allowed the government once again of New Delhi to appoint a lawyer for Indian raw-serving terrorist commander Kulbhushan Jadhav. Islamabad moved the court last month, asking it to appoint a lawyer to represent Commander Jadhav after India refused to represent him. The government has assured the court that it will comply and approach New Delhi again through the Foreign Office. The Indian government has been reluctant in filing a review of the death penalty decision under the Review and Reconsideration Ordinance. Jadhav is facing death penalty in court after he was caught operating in Pakistan and confessed to espionage and terrorism in the country. Pakistan says it will continue to extend political, diplomatic and moral support to Kashmiris until the realization of their right to self-determination. Visiting the line of control along with foreign media representatives, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said the people of Indian-occupied Kashmir reject New Delhi's illegal actions of 5th of August. Qureshi said there is a new wave of resentment against the atrocities being committed by Indian occupation forces. Defense Minister Parvez Khattak and National Security Advisor Mueed Yusuf accompanied Qureshi to express solidarity with the victims of Indian fightings. Military officials briefed the delegation about the unprovoked ceasefire violations by Indian forces at the line of control. In Afghanistan, at least 29 people have been killed in an attack by ISIS on a prison in the eastern city of Jalalabad. A spokesperson for the provincial governor says over 50 people have been injured in the attack. Some 30 ISIS fighters had attacked the prison with a bomb, leading to a mass jailbreak. The spokesperson said police have recaptured around 1,000 prisoners who had escaped in the chaos. But over 300 inmates are still at large as the security forces regain the control of the prison after an intense exchange of fire with the militants. ISIS has claimed the responsibility for the attack. This comes a day after the Afghan intelligence agency claimed security forces had killed a senior commander of the militants near Jalalabad. A Grand Assembly will convene this week to decide the fate of 400 Taliban prisoners the government has refused to release before intra-Afghan peace negotiations. The state media said the proposed Loya Jirga would convene on August 7, and the gathering may last from 3 to 5 days. President Ashraf Ghani suggested convening the Jirga in his address on the first day of Eid. He said this government has no power under the constitution to free the 400 Taliban prisoners involved in serious crimes. The government was required to free 5,000 Taliban inmates in line with the US Taliban agreement. In return, the Taliban have already released 1,000 government soldiers. The Taliban have warned a delay in the releasing of the prisoners would lead to a continuation of the conflict. Iran has announced sanctions on former White House national security aide and founding member of a critical Washington think tank, Richard Goldberg. In a statement, our foreign ministry accused Goldberg of playing an active role in economic terrorism against Iran and its citizens. Responding, Goldberg said it was an honor to work for White House National Security Council. He said he dedicates this sanctions announcement to the people of Iran who yearn for peace and freedom. Goldberg is a known coordinator of the maximum pressure policy against Iran and worked under former NSA advisor John Bolton. Yemen's Houthis say the Saudi-led coalition forces have released an oil tanker Dobra detained for nearly 4 months. In a statement, a rebel-controlled Yemen petroleum company said the tanker carrying nearly 26,000 tons of gasoline has reached Hodeidah port. The company said it is preparing for the start of the pumping and discharging process. It said coalition forces are still holding 16 tankers, including 2 carrying diesel, 2 loaded with domestic gas, while the rest are carrying diesel. The statement says the released amount of gasoline is enough to meet the needs for only 5 days. Coalition forces have not commented on the claim yet. Moving on, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has railed at swelling protests against his rule. At a cabinet meeting, he accused the country's media of inflaming the protests. He said the biased media distorts facts and cheers on the demonstrators. Thousands of Israelis have taken to the streets to demand Netanyahu's resignation over corruption and coronavirus mismanagement, but Netanyahu rejected the demonstrators' call to step down. The global number of COVID-19 cases has crossed 18 million, with the death tally exceeding 688,000. Brazil has reported 541 deaths and nearly 26,000 infections in the last 24 hours, increasing the tally to over 2.7 million. In the US, the death toll has neared 155,000 with over 4.6 million infections. This report has the details.
Global markets have started retreating as COVID-19 surge threatens a rollback of economic revival steps and lifting of restrictions. Latin America and now the Caribbean are being hit hard by the virus. Over in Asia, India is the worst hit country, reporting over 50,000 cases daily, while a second wave appears to be gaining momentum in Iran. Philippines is reimposing its lockdown as the country struggles to contain the outbreak with more than 100,000 infections and 2,000 deaths.
I have heard the call of different groups from the medical community for a 2-week enhanced community quarantine, ACQ, in Mega Manila. I fully understand why your health workers would like to ask for such a timeout period. They have been in the front lines for months and are exhausted.
Second coming of the virus in Europe after spiking in Spain is now threatening Italy, where cluster infections are emerging. Meanwhile, Britain says it will soon roll out a new coronavirus test capable of detecting the virus within 90 minutes. In Australia, the state of Victoria is imposing its first nightly curfew as it struggles to deal with surging cases.
So there will be a curfew across metropolitan Melbourne from 8 p.m. this evening, and it will run from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. each and every day. And the only reason to be out of your home between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. is to get care, to give care, or to go to and from work or be at work. We can no longer have people visiting others. We can no longer have people simply out and about for no good reason whatsoever.
Meanwhile, in Beijing, an unending string of domestically transmitted cases continues to worry China. South Korea has reported 23 new cases of the coronavirus amid a downward trend in the number of locally infected patients.
Moreover, India has reported over 50,000 daily new cases of the new coronavirus for the fifth consecutive day. The health ministry said the country's total cases have crossed 1.8 million, with 771 fatalities overnight, taking the toll to over 38,000. During a cabinet meeting, Health Minister Harish Vardhan said only 1 in 3 positive cases nationwide were under medical care. After Indian authorities eased the lockdown in several cities across India in July, the number of cases reported has almost doubled. Health Ministry stats show in India. India's federal fiscal deficit has also touched a record high $88.5 billion as the country struggles to open up its economy amid a raging pandemic. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the daily new coronavirus cases continue to decline as the country reported just over 300 new infections on the third day of Eid al-Adha. The health ministry said 8 more people died in the past 24 hours, raising the total to 5,984. The ministry said out of 280,000 cases detected so far, nearly 249,000 have recovered from the virus. It said there are now over 25,000 active cases in the country, with 1,038 in critical condition. Sindh remains the worst hit province with over 121,000 infections, while Punjab has reported over 93,000 cases. In the northern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, there are over 34,000 cases detected, while Balochistan recorded over 11,000 cases. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says President Donald Trump will take action in coming days on Chinese software companies. In an interview, Pompeo said Chinese companies feed data to Beijing, posing a national security threat to the U.S. Earlier, Trump said he could ban Chinese-owned video sharing app TikTok in the U.S. U.S. security officials have expressed concern that the app could be used to collect the personal data of the Americans. TikTok has denied accusations that it is controlled by or shares data with the Chinese government. The two countries are at odds over a number of issues, including trade disputes and Beijing's handling of the coronavirus outbreak. 5 soldiers have been killed and another 5 wounded in twin attacks blamed on militants in central Mali. Officials said a military convoy was ambushed en route from the village of Goma Kora to Diable town. Officials said 4 pickup trucks and an armored vehicle were missing after the attack. Meanwhile, in another attack, Mali's army said a camp at Goma Kora came under artillery fire. It said some vehicles were destroyed, but the casualties on the enemy's side were not yet known. Libya says it has detained 55 irregular migrants of different nationalities on the Mediterranean coast of the country. Libya's Interior Ministry said the migrants were caught when Coast Guards raided a warehouse in the coastal Zlatan city. The Interior Ministry said 4 women and 6 children were among those held, and 1 human trafficker was also arrested during the operation. The Mediterranean is the most preferred route by the migrants from Africa who try to cross to Europe through Italy and Malta. Dozens of illegal immigrants in Libya who are either rescued from the sea or arrested by the authorities remain detained in overcrowded shelters. International Organization for Migration has repeatedly called to shut down these shelters and provide better assistance to these migrants. Spain's firefighters and military emergency personnel are battling to control a wildfire in the Madrid region amid blistering heat. Emergency services said the blaze burned through the night and forced the evacuation of several houses. The services activated level 2 alert as 26 crews of forest brigades, firefighters, and section of the emergency unit fight the blaze. It said the cause of the fire cannot be confirmed yet, which comes amid a heat wave across Europe. Head of the community of Madrid, fire guard Luis Rincon, said the fire is quite unstable at this point. He said the Red Cross has set up a shelter for the evicted people, offering kits for personal hygiene, food and drinks until they can return to their homes. More stories to follow, but right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. A 9-year-old Pakistani girl has set a world record by becoming the fastest and the youngest in the world to arrange the elements of the periodic table. Natalia Najam achieved the Guinness World Records title after arranging all elements of the periodic chart in just 2 minutes and 42 seconds. The previous record was held by an Indian professor, Meenakshi Agarwal, who completed the same task in 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Natalia broke the previous record by completing the task with 7 seconds to spare. Her father, Hassan Najam, says his daughter has not received formal schooling and has been educated at home. The young Pakistani girl hopes that her achievement will inspire children around the world to continue taking strides in science and pursue careers in the field. In China, a truck driver has risked his life driving a burning vehicle away from a populated area to make sure no one was caught in a potential explosion. The truck accidentally caught fire following a scheduled tune-up in northeastern Shangchun city. Driver Sun Gang drove the burning truck for about 4 kilometers to an open area where the fuel tank exploded. 5 minutes later, he left the vehicle. The surrounding area where the vehicle caught fire was densely populated and there was a gas station nearby. Meanwhile, China's leading automaker gifted Sun one of its flagship trucks in recognition of his selfless act. NASA astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken have returned to Earth after a 2-month stay on the International Space Station. The crew SpaceX Dragon capsule splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico. Voyage was NASA's first crewed mission from home soil in 9 years. Behnken and Hurley reached land following a 21-hour overnight journey aboard Crew Dragon Endeavour. The successful splashdown was a final key test of whether Elon Musk's spacecraft can transport astronauts to and from orbit. The crew spent an hour floating inside the capsule before joint recovery teams from SpaceX and NASA retrieved them for a helicopter trip ashore. The mission was launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center on May the 31st. Making jumps over dirt moons in her tracksuit and padded helmet, 16-year-old Negin Afshar is a motocross enthusiast in Afghanistan. More about her passion in this report.
Afshar, born and raised in the Afghan capital, joined the Motorcycle Federation of Afghanistan nearly a year ago to do motocross, an emerging sport in the country. Afshar says she hopes to inspire women of her generation to take alternate paths and show the world another facade of Afghanistan.
I decided to pursue the motocross sport to inspire Afghan women and show that they can do this tough sport as well. I tried to be one of the first women to take this path, and I hope we can encourage others as well.
Despite the uncertainty, the young motocross athlete was resolute in her pursuit of participating and excelling in sports.
The most important issue that should be raised with the Taliban is the freedom and rights of Afghan women. And if they want to violate our rights, we will stand against them and resist. I will not leave my country, and I want to stay here and serve my country.
Afshar's parents are fully in support of her passion. Her mother, 32-year-old Farishta Afshar, is also head of the Women's Committee in the National Motorcycle Federation of Afghanistan.
We cannot say that there is no concern, and we will undoubtedly face challenges, such as now that there are different reactions to women's sports, especially women motorcycling, which is an exceptional sport in Afghanistan. In any case, my husband and I will support her as much as we can, and we want to take Nagin to the highest peaks of success.
Afghanistan's National Motorcycling Federation was established in 2015 and currently has around 600 athletes across Kabul and 14 other provinces in the country. The federation said it plans to travel overseas to participate in competitions scuttled earlier this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
US President Donald Trump has given China's ByteDance 45 days to negotiate a sale of its video blogging app TikTok with Microsoft. In a statement, Microsoft said it will continue negotiations to buy the app by 15th of September. Microsoft said it will also take over TikTok's operations in Canada, Australia and New Zealand if the deal goes through. It said it will ensure that all private data belonging to TikTok's American users is transferred to and remains in the US. Earlier on Friday, Trump dismissed the idea of a Microsoft sale when he said he will ban the app in the US. Washington said TikTok poses a national security risk because of the personal data it handles. European stocks are trading mixed as another big week for corporate earnings kicked off. Investors are treading carefully as US lawmakers attempt to hammer out a new coronavirus aid package. The pan-European stock 600 gained 0.5%, with tech and chemical stocks rising over 1% to lead the gains. London's FTSE slipped marginally. Germany's DAX has climbed over 1%, while Paris's CAC 40 has also edged up fractionally. Earlier stocks in the Asia-Pacific traded mixed. Japanese bourses, Chinese shares and South Korea's Kospi gained, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng and Australia's ASX 200 slipped. The Tokyo Paralympics set to take place next year will require specific countermeasures against the COVID-19 pandemic. Organizers of the Games say they are faced with the logistical challenge of transporting para-athletes while maintaining safety measures. The Paralympics were due to begin later this month but have now been pushed back until 2021 due to the pandemic. The Games, featuring thousands of impaired athletes, is set to have 539 events at 22 venues. Games director Hidemasa Nakamura said a time delay will have to be taken into account when moving the para-athletes between venues. Phoenix Suns, Brooklyn Nets and Houston Rockets won their latest matchups in the National Basketball Association Championships. Devin Booker's 30 points helped the Suns come back from a 15-point deficit and stun the playoff-bound Dallas Mavericks 117 to 115. But the Mavericks still managed to clinch a playoff spot. Caris LeVert scored 34 points as the host Brooklyn Nets recorded a pivotal 118 to 110 victory over Washington Wizards. The Nets have now moved 7 games ahead of Washington in the Eastern Conference. Houston Rockets topped the Milwaukee Bucks 120 to 116 as Russell Westbrook sank 4 free throws inside the final 28.5 seconds. Westbrook scored a team-high 31 points while adding 8 assists. Now the weather situation from around the globe. That is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus Special.